What's going on, everyone? Welcome to today's video, and thanks again for stopping by. 2023 has been one incredible year for games, and honestly, it's been an all-around amazing year for JRPGs in particular. I'm excited today because I have a top 10 list of my favorite JRPGs of 2023. These are my personal favorites. Be sure to let me know in the comments below what your favorites were this year. There's going to be several games on this list I haven't talked about yet on this channel, so I'm really excited to jump into it. Before we dive in, recently I made a list of the best JRPG series and the best JRPGs on the Nintendo Switch, so be sure to go check those out if you haven't yet. Now, I typically don't rank my lists in any given order, but for this one I am, so stay tuned for the end of this video to see my favorite one released this year. Now, let's jump right into it. First up at number 10, I've got One Piece Odyssey. This was a huge surprise for me this year. I typically have pretty low expectations for anime adaptations of games, and in fact, many adaptations are fighting games, and I personally don't play a ton of fighting games, but I really liked seeing the releases of Kakarot and now One Piece Odyssey. I'll always give an RPG adaptation of some of my favorite anime series a shot, and I'm glad I gave One Piece Odyssey a go. Of course, the depth of the lore, the expansive world, and the beloved characters established and cherished through the anime significantly contribute to the sheer enjoyment of playing this game. These elements have cultivated an immensely dedicated fan base, adding that extra layer of excitement and engagement to the overall experience. The turn-based mechanics themselves are not particularly revolutionary, but they are a ton of fun, and the areas to explore, while not completely open, do provide value and exploration. I do feel like the game overstayed its welcome a bit. It's quite long, but if you are a One Piece fan, this game should be on your list to play. I definitely enjoyed my time with it, so I'm sure other fans will as well. Next up, we've got Atelier Ryza 3. Now, this is a series I just recently started getting into. I actually started with the first Ryza game and really began to enjoy my time with them. These games do some really interesting things with combat, exploration, and crafting. It's a relaxing JRPG series that gives a nice sense of comfort when playing it. The third entry in the Ryza trilogy improves on everything from the first two, while giving much more open areas to explore, which I very much enjoyed doing. The story and characters continue to be enjoyable, and the way everything comes together in the final entry in Ryza's 3-game run closed it out on a high note, in my opinion. It's been nice, particularly to see the combat evolve over these 3 games. When I started playing the Atelier series, my first impression was that the combat kind of takes this back seat to exploration, story, and crafting, but by the 3rd game, the combat felt refined and fun, and it seems like they put a lot more attention to detail in it. I did feel at times that the pacing felt a bit off, and there were some odd difficulty spikes in places, but overall, this game delivered a great experience this year. Next up is Final Fantasy 16. And look, I know not everybody enjoys the new direction Final Fantasy has gone in, and to me, especially with 16, it felt much further from a JRPG than I would have liked. But after finishing it, I came away enjoying my time with it. Getting the gripes with it out of the way real quick, the combat being heavily action-based took some getting used to, but ultimately was responsive and fluid and felt really good. And the game did feel a bit too easy at times and forgiving if I'm being honest, but the harder difficulty unlocked upon completion really hit that sweet spot for me. Putting all that aside, Final Fantasy 16 had some of the best boss fights I've ever played in a video game, and the soundtrack was absolutely amazing. Some of the characters delivered great performances, and the story had some really cool moments. Speaking to the story, I believe this is the first M-rated Final Fantasy game, and it is much darker than what we are used to. I actually enjoyed the change up here, and I can appreciate the different directions Final Fantasy games go in with each new mainline release. Overall, Final Fantasy 16 is a different experience than what fans are used to for sure. As someone who didn't like 15 all that much, I went into 16 with very tempered expectations, and came out feeling really good about some of the things it did, and I was a bit disappointed with others. It's not close to the levels of Final Fantasy VII Remake, and Rebirth really looks to build on that, so I'm really excited for that release, but in the meantime, Final Fantasy 16 is a really good time. Alright, now moving on, we've got Dragon Quest Monsters: The Dark Prince. Dragon Quest Monsters is a really cool concept. I haven't played much of the Monsters series prior to this year, and I haven't made it too far into this one yet, but what I've played of it so far has really exceeded my expectations. I like the Dragon Quest spin-offs. I became so incredibly addicted to Builders 2 that I found it hard to pull myself away, and the gameplay loop in The Dark Prince has me hooked as well. Dragon Quest Monsters' allure lies in the seamless integration of all the elements in the game, resulting in an incredibly addictive experience. The thrill of exploring all the areas to discover new monsters, building out your skill trees, and the constant back and forth in deciding which monsters to keep and which to discard kind of create this really fun hook. As the game gradually expands its scope, the gameplay expands with it, and it felt natural in its pacing for the most part. There's a point where things really moved into a new direction. And ever since then, things are really starting to feel great. This is the point in time where I can kind of see some of the more groundbreaking mechanics that I was like looking for in the beginning kind of seep their way into the game, and I can see myself playing a ton of this one for sure now. The breeding synthesis system is incredibly addictive, and I think this is going to be one of those games where the reviews are going to be quite mixed. This game is going to really hit for some people, while others may be kind of turned off by it. The game doesn't look or perform particularly great on the Switch. It can feel a bit grindy at times, and there are a few bugs here and there that are somewhat noticeable. But overall, this is one of those games that if the mechanics and gameplay loop grab you, then you'll have a near impossible time putting it down. None of the bugs break the experience for this, and I am just having a blast with it. Dragon Quest Monsters is a fun time, and if any of this sounds appealing to you, it should be on your list for the year. Next up, I've got the Final Fantasy Pixel Remasters. We all know the games in this collection are amazing. I can't express how much love I have for these. These are the games I will always come back to if I want an old school JRPG fix, and they really deliver an amazing experience. The pixel art retains the charm of the original titles while receiving meaningful updates, making the characters and environments visually appealing on modern screens. The updated soundtracks beautifully breathe new life into the iconic music we all know and love. More importantly, the quality of life enhancements such as revamped UI, improved controls, and adjusted difficulty settings really streamline the gameplay without compromising that nostalgic feel. These tweaks make the games more accessible and enjoyable, especially for those experiencing these titles for the first time. These games are must-plays and really make the classics that help define the genre much, much more accessible. Alright, moving on to Fire Emblem Engage. This marks another great entry for the Fire Emblem series. I think the reviews were a little divided on this one, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. Engage took a different approach with the release after Three Houses. While Three Houses focused a ton on story and world building, the focus of Engage was quite clearly the combat and moment-to-moment gameplay, and it really shines in this department. I felt like this was some of the most refined and well-executed Fire Emblem gameplay that I've ever played. I also really want to note that I loved the art style. This game is bright and colorful. If you have a Switch OLED, this is definitely one to give a try because the colors in this game really pop on that screen. I really enjoyed my time with Engage. The characters were memorable, the battles were challenging, the pacing felt great, and the game didn't overstay its welcome. If you're a fan of Fire Emblem, I think this is easily one of the most well-executed tactics games on the Switch, and one of the best games to release this year. Next up, I've got Star Ocean: The Second Story R. This game released this year, and while I was excited about it, I had no clue I'd enjoy it as much as I did. I've already spoken a ton about this game on this channel. I've got a review up, so if you haven't had a chance to go check it out, be sure to do so. I dive a lot deeper into what I really enjoyed about this game. I think the story and characters are great. Claude and Reina are incredible, and I really enjoy the dynamic between them. There's a lot to love here. The combat is addictive and has a bit of a fast-paced action arcadey feel to it that makes the grinding a lot more fun. The art style is really stunning. It's got that HD 2D look that we all like, but it's applied in a different way with this one. You see Star Ocean moves in a lot of 3D open space, and therefore this makes the art style shine in ways it hasn't before. This is easily one of the best JRPGs released this year. Definitely give this one a go if you haven't had a chance to. Next up is Super Mario RPG. This is a remake done right. I mean, Super Mario RPG is one of the games that I played when I was younger that cemented my love for the genre and pushed me to try out more complex and deep JRPGs. I played this and immediately wanted more. This game seamlessly combines the charm of the Mario universe with turn-based combat, engaging storytelling, and memorable characters. The game's strength lies in its unique approach to RPG gameplay, and introduces timing-based mechanics during battles, adding an interactive element that keeps turn-based battles lively and strategic. The storyline is captivating, featuring Mario alongside some brand new characters that are definitely some fan favorites. The remake is really well executed, and the game looks great. Visually, it shines with vibrant, colorful environments that capture the essence of the classic Mario RPG with a modern twist. The game is a classic for a reason, and I love having this remake on the Switch. All right, we're down to the top two, and here we go with Trails to Azure. Now, I have this game on this list because it was released on the Switch this year, and I played it this year, and it turned out great. It's also likely my favorite game in the Trails series so far. Reverie also released this year, and if I'd played it, it would likely be on this list as well, if I'm being honest. But as most of my followers know, I've been making my way through the series and I just started the Cold Steel games, so Reverie is coming up and I'm super excited to get into it. Anyway, focusing on Azure, this is an incredible JRPG and likely is the best start to finish overall experience I've had with the Trail series so far. The combat mechanics, the story, the characters, I mean, everything was really turned up in this game and I can't speak highly enough of it. The Trail series just has such an incredible way of building narrative, and it really impresses with its meticulous attention to character development, weaving together individual stories that gradually intertwine within a larger world. I'd recommend any fan of the genre dive into the Trail series, so please give it a go if you haven't yet. Alright, finally, at the number 1 spot, my JRPG of the year is Octopath Traveler 2. Here we are. Octopath Traveler 2 is incredible. This is a JRPG through and through, and there is truly nothing out there quite like it. The different stories and characters that come together throughout the game and build out your party with a wide variety of skill sets and allow for varying techniques really kept this game feeling fresh in ways most games have a difficult time doing. It's the premise and the idea of the Octopath concept that makes this game possible, and I hope that after this one we continue to get more of these games and it becomes an ongoing series, because I love everything about them. The HD 2D art style, the characters, the environments and stories, the soundtrack, each are at another level. The attention to detail and dedication put into making every aspect of this game an incredible JRPG experience from start to finish should be commended, and for these reasons, I have it at the number 1 spot. Anyway, everyone, that's it for my best JRPGs of 2023. If you have any you really enjoyed this year that didn't make my list, be sure to let me know in the comments below. 2023 was an amazing year for JRPGs, but 2024 looks even better. We have games like Metaphor, Persona 3 Reload, Visions of Mana, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and many, many more. Be sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of the content I'll be making around those releases. I also created a Discord for our community here, so if you like JRPGs, if you want to talk about any of the games I listed here, then feel free to join, hop in, and I hope to see you there. I have the link in the description below, but that's it for me today, everyone, so until next time, I'm out.